There were a few more questions on the Behringer RD-6 after our review, so we decided to make a deep dive episode in which we explain certain features in more detail. Hello everyone, this is... Contrary to what we said in the review video, copying and pasting patterns is possible on the RD-6 after all. What a relief! Here's how to do it. This is pattern 16, which contains The Funk by Daft Punk. Let's say we want to make an exact copy of this pattern in slot 15. At the moment, pattern 15 is empty. First we have to go to the pattern we want to copy, pattern 16. We need to be in pattern write mode for this to work, and the sequencer has to be stopped. Press Function and Copy. Then we go to our target pattern, which is 15, and press Function and Paste. That's it. To time sync the RD-6 to other devices, we have a few options. If we want the RD-6 to send the clock, we can use a regular Midi cable from the Midi out port to the Midi in port of the receiving device, which in this case is the TD-3. By pressing these two buttons, you can change the sync options. We want the RD-6 to send the clock, so we set its clock to internal. The TD-3 is the receiver, so its clock needs to be set to MIDI. If you want it to be the other way around, meaning that the RD-6 receives the clock from the TD-3, you have to connect the MIDI out of the TD-3 to the MIDI in of the RD-6. Then set the TD-3's clock to internal and the RD-6's clock to MIDI. Another option is to sync via the trigger output. The TD-3 doesn't have a sync out, so it can only receive. Just connect the RD-6's sync out to the TD-3's sync in via mini jack cable. Set the RD-6's clock to internal and the TD-3's clock to trig. Now it's very important to set the same clock rate on both devices, or else they will sync at different speeds. Let's pick 48 pulses per quarter for both. By the way, you can find all drum patterns for Daft Punk's The Funk on our Patreon for free. You could also connect the RD-6 to your computer to receive the clock via MIDI over USB. But instead of a clock signal, we're sending MIDI notes from a controller like this one to trigger the RD-6's instruments. Out of all the patterns we've programmed, we can create a song, called track on the RD-6. A track is a bit like a playlist of patterns. You could even add a pattern multiple times. In track write and track play mode, the instrument dial doubles as a song selector. Here you can see the track numbers printed beside the instrument names. This means we have 8 slots to save our songs in. You can imagine a song as a sequence of up to 250 bars or patterns. But for illustration purposes, let's limit ourselves to 8 bars. At the moment, every bar in the song is set to a default, which is pattern 1. To edit the song, we can enter track write mode. While the sequencer is stopped, we can press clear to navigate to the start of the song, just in case we're somewhere else. Now we want to assign a pattern to the first bar. When we start the sequencer in track write mode, it will always repeat the current bar. Let's pick pattern number 4. Then we have to press Write Next. Pattern 4 is written to the first bar, and the sequencer advances to the next bar. If you hold Function, you can see which bar we're currently at. So for bar 2, let's assign pattern 11. Press Write Next again to write and advance to the next bar. And so on. To make things easier, you can even add pattern chains, like this. This adds all the patterns in the chain. As you can see by pressing Function, we're now at bar 5. As the last bar of the song, I want to add pattern 16. Before I press Write Next, I have to tell the sequencer that this is the last bar. I can do this with the Clear button. As you can see, it says DC up here, which stands for Da Capo, meaning from the beginning. Now bar 5 is marked as DC, and I press Write Next. All done. Let's take a listen to our song. We enter track play mode, and by pressing Clear, we return to the first bar of the song. Let's start the sequencer. As you can see, we now play through patterns 4, 11, 7, 8, and 16, and as soon as the sequencer finishes the bar with the da capo mark, it jumps back to the beginning of the song. Now let's say we made a grave mistake by adding Phil Collins to our song. To remove the bar containing pattern 11, we need to be in track write mode. We need to navigate to the bar we want to remove. So we press Clear to go to the beginning of the song and Write Next to advance to bar 2, which contains the offending pattern. By pressing Function and Delete, we remove the bar. All following bars move up. Let's check whether he's really gone. Switch to track play mode, go to the beginning of the song, and press play. Wonderful! No one there between Aphex Twin and Cardi B. Now we want to do the opposite. We want to add another bar. Right here, between bar 1 and bar 2. Using the Function button, we can see that we're not yet at the right position. Luckily, we don't need to press Write Next until we're there. We can hold the Function button and type in where we want to go. For example, 128. Function, 100, 2, and 8. The lit LEDs show the first digits. The blinking LED shows the last digit. But we want to go to bar 2, so we press Function and 2. At this position, we want to insert a new bar. While the sequencer is stopped, in track write mode, we press Function and Insert. A new bar has been inserted and it defaults to pattern 1. We want to assign a different pattern, so we need to start the sequencer. I take pattern 5 and press Write Next to write and advance. The song is now finished, so switch to track play mode and go to the start of the song by pressing Clear. Let's have a listen. We have 2 bars of Aphex Twin, 2 bars of Cardi B, and finally 1 bar of Daft Punk. Some functions like track write mode are a bit unintuitive on the RD-6, and the official manual isn't much of a help either. So we made a comprehensive cheat sheet for the RD-6. Everything you need to know, including song mode, in a clear overview. Get it for free on our Patreon page. That's it for this deep dive episode. Hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any new videos.
Bunny.